And the Vaseline separator is going along. I've put it not only along the inside vertical walls of the wooden box, also ran it along the edge, the top edge of the wood here. Okay? And the reason for that is if any of the silicone overflows the top of the box, I want to be able to remove it from here fairly easily. I also do not, because this is plywood, I don't want the silicone to soak into the wood. Don't know if it would do that or not, but anything is possible. I also sealed the very top corners here on the box. The slight gap, especially here at the rear, where the the rubber band is all that's holding this in place. I'm going along and I'm making sure to get good full coverage. The release agent has been put down into the keyholes, the key locking holes. I'm going around the silicone for the second shot, second time. This little area here that has the gap, all right, right there. I've gone down in there and inserted the Vaseline release agent. Anywhere the silicone can possibly leak and get down in between has been sealed. Right here, right along where it meets the bone, I want a good seal of silicone, Vaseline against the silicone and the bone, just to prevent it from getting underneath. It would have to be magic to do it, but you never know. I'm also going along and I'm really coating the seam where the front mold and the front half of the mold and back half of the mold meet. I'm really covering that. I've also put a good amount of release agent along the edge, the meeting edge of the wood box and the silicone mold. I don't want any getting down in there, any silicone sneaking by and possibly locking us in. Up at the corners, the vertical corners have had clay applied, of course, and the separator has been added to it. I'm going to put a cover over this to keep the air from drying it out too much as I let it sit a little while before mixing up the last batch of silicone to put in the lower half of the mold box. The nice thing too about the Vaseline, as you go along, you can pick up even more of the little clay crumbs that you may find. So it works out really well. This is really clean and really set for molding. Here we go. Let's uncover the mold. I've mixed up the A and B of the PlatSil 7315. This time I mixed up 202 grams, 101 of part A, 101 of part B. And if I need to, I'll mix up a little more, but I think that might be a good amount for the surface we have to cover. So now I'm going to go ahead and start pouring it in. The Vaseline separator was put around the roots of the teeth, molars, premolars, incisors, the canines. Now this is going to be allowed to flow in. Let me put it on a level spot. Here we go. I'm going to be allowed to flow into the little button keyholes, and then flow around to the back of the mold. Yeah, here we are. Just pour it in from a good height. Put a little light on the subject. There we go. Appears to be covering at a really good rate. Just what I was hoping for. Alright, the tympanic bullae have both been covered. And I think I mixed up just enough. I'm simply going to work the last bit of silicone out of the cup and into the mold. Like so. And like so. There we go. Nicely done. That back in the cup. Now I'm going to break up the surface bubbles again using the Pol-Ease 2500 release agent. A couple of swipes across the surface. You want it a good distance away. You want it about 8 to 10 inches away from the surface of your mold. You don't want this being trapped in the silicone by shooting a jet hard into the silicone and trapping it in. I don't know if it would weaken the silicone. I'd rather not find out if it would do that. So I just go lightly. There we go. Done and done. Now, as any more little bubbles come up, rather than use the aerated product again, I'll simply go over and little puffs of air. Now, this looks good. This looks good. This looks like just the right amount too. Let's see if I can scrape a little bit out of the cup. It was well mixed enough, so trying to get a few more drops out. Now, you know what, on second thought, let's not. Let's not and say we did. There. All there is to do now is to leave it alone for 4 or 5 hours. Most likely I'll come back to this and demold it later on this evening, or at least check it. Probably demold it tomorrow. So on that note, I will say goodnight to you, Mr. Mold. Well, here we are the next day, just like I promised. And we are going to open the mold box and remove the cat skull from the mold, or at least remove the mold from the cat skull. First thing to do, remove all the rubber bands. I'll tell you right now, my fingers are crossed, my toes are crossed, even my eyes are crossed. One last rubber band, the one at the very top of the mold. Okay, we have the same height as where we left it last night. Now this is the rear section here where the tape is, so you know which part comes away from the mold. It comes away from the, yeah, right. First thing I like to do is pull the mold edges away from the mold box. Now this box, remember, is going to become a permanent part of the mold structure, okay? Because I'm going to rotationally cast this, the mold box will be part of the structure that keeps the mold together. Now, I'm simply going to gently pry the sides away from the mold. And I mean gently, only because, for the simple reason that these are secured here with a carpenter's, woodworker's epoxy. I'll pull this away from the top section here, like so. Ah, okay, here it comes. Here it comes. All right. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unmold the bottom section. So here we go. I'm going to start from the back and work our way forward. Just get a little clay off of here. All right. Okay. One snap. That was the little button key disconnecting. Should be coming away real nicely. Just want to loosen the sides of the silicone. Here. Around the front. Like so. I want to unsnap the front buttons and lift the mold away from the skull. Doing this carefully. Maybe adhering just a little bit here to the silicone. Okay. That will come away, I hope. Alright. For some reason she's hung up just a wee bit here. It's not hung up on the bone, it's hung up on the silicone itself. Alright, there we are. Okay. Worked it loose. Worked it loose. Looks good. Looks good. Mold half looks nice. Captured a lot of detail. As it should have. As it should have. Skull looks pretty much undamaged, as I was praying it would be. Now to remove the top sections from the skull. First I want to pry them away from the sides, like so. I'm going to get in here now. I'm going to work a modeling tool down into the seam inside the zygomatic arch. Be sure that separates properly. Okay, that's coming away from itself beautifully. Alright, now that's coming away. That come away beautifully. Terrific. That is very nice. A very nice mold half. It's a really wonderful copy right here. Look at that. That's going to be boss, as we used to say. And you see where the occipital, the lobes of the occipital bone are exposed there. This was much easier, I think, I'm hoping, than it would have been to cut the original mold in half. I'm just going to simply work the silicone away from the front part now. Right. I'm going to gently, I have to hold down this lobe bone and work, oh shoot, work the skull away. Alright. Oh poop, we took a little bit of the zygomatic arch off the bone. Crumb. Crumb bum. Okay, well, we've received a little bit of damage Not as bad as the first time, though. The first time this was in multiple pieces. Okay. Now to examine this to see what better way perhaps this could have been done. I think instead of going back, perhaps instead of going back this way, should have gone straight across. But it's difficult because the lobes are located in two different planes. Oh, this worked loose a little. Okay, we'll fix that again. This was damaged from the first time, so sure, it came loose. Okay. Oops. Alrighty. Well, the only thing we can do is see how a casting comes out. A casting should come out a lot better. Don't forget, this had no air bubbles up in this portion as well. The original mold had a huge air bubble up in here. So, I'll clean up the skull, put these little pieces back. These are pieces that were part of the original damage, so I mean, stuff happens. Like I said, molding is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And these skulls are delicate and kind of difficult to figure out. Let's say each one becomes a learning experience. There's a learning curve with each one. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to take a little bit of the Vaseline Separator. I'm going to put it on the little knobs here, locking knobs. And just to keep it together, I'm going to zip this part of the mold right back together. Okay, that holds together pretty well. Lines up beautifully. Lines up beautifully. Now I'll take the Vaseline, apply it to the little key tops of the lower portion of the mold. You can't let things like this, you know, get you down. There are little setbacks and everything. But I think if this wasn't a damaged skull, it would have come away a lot easier and a lot cleaner. And it would just simply press these parts together. I want to see how the empty mold holds itself together at this point. And we have a real solid, tight connection right here, as you can see. Now we'll turn it right side up. Remembering that this box, remove the clay from the corners, that's no longer needed. Remembering that this front corner of the box here is the front of the skull. So we put this in place, all right, like so. Down like so. Put the rear panel on. Secure it with just a couple of rubber bands this time. And I will next prepare to create a casting from this new mold. And there we have it. It's a good mold. All things being equal, I'd say this was pretty darn successful. Like I said, this was a damaged skull, and there were loose pieces as I was claying in around the eye sockets. This little zygomatic here did come away at one point, and I had to glue it kind of on the fly. But this will get put back into place. I'm not concerned. Believe me, this thing has got so many boo-boos. These new boo-boos are not really going to destroy anything or, you know, dampen my enthusiasm for what it is I'm doing. I'll use the Tech Bond and the activator and put the skull back together after I remove the separator and the sealant. And that will be done with alcohol and some paper towel. Here's the alcohol, and here's paper towel. Put a little bit of alcohol on a paper towel and give it a little rub down. Also, I want to rub this first where the repairs need to be made so that the adhesive has no trouble sticking. Just like so. Wipe it dry. Gently wipe it dry. There we go. All right. As with all repairs I simply put a little bit of the Tech Bond CA adhesive on the portion of a little craft stick. Take my modeling tool. First, line up where the piece goes. It goes right there. Okay. So now we're going to take the glue and not get my fingers in it and apply it to the part of the bone that will make contact with the skull. Like so. And do a matching, run a matching bead of glue along the part to be joined up. And like so. Put this to here. As such. What's nice with this cement is you have time to make adjustments and check your alignment before it begins to set, and you can move it. Make sure it's in there right. The angle is set. Your bone is in place. Okay, now with that in place, the activator is in the pipette. Let's put down here like so. And the bond is made. I'll wipe off the excess here. The bond is made. So that's in good shape. And we'll do the other side. Want to pre-fit the piece that came away. Now simply take the cement, the tip of the modeling tool again, and apply it to the bone where needed to make contact, like so. Now apply the piece in place. Now you can't cry over stuff like this. You might want to, but knowing, or having, I should say, the knowledge to make the repairs goes a long way in drying those tears. Oh, good. Seriously though, like I said, I waited and waited and waited for this skull for a long, long time. Yeah, I finally got it. Okay, I damaged it. The damage is done, you know. The damage is done. What more can you do? There is a way to fix this so it will be nice forever. And once these repairs are made, no more mold for this little guy. That's it for this skull. He's done his duty. He's done his double duty. That's just a little of the CA adhesive applied to the end of the crack. Accelerator applied and wiped away with paper towel. Now, this large break right here along the bone, right here, this line right here, this happened in transit. When I got it, it was cracked. And when I unwrapped it, this whole piece just popped right off. So this had previous damage. And like I said, this was another crack that was in the skull when it arrived. So it had damage, but it came with a skin that I want to mount as a full mount. And like I said, I have a full skeleton, and I will be molding the entire skeleton. I may just do a photo shoot of the skeleton and do a video slideshow of it. But, you know, like I said, you know, you can't be too upset over things like this. You know, like they always say in all the science fiction movies, you know, about the scientific process comes with a certain amount of sacrifice, and you have to be ready to accept the sacrifice. Well, same thing happens when you're making molds. Now we have a good mold. Okay, we have a good mold here. This is it for this skull. He's not going to have to put up with any more of my nonsense. No more of my shenanigans. No more malarkey. Okay? What I will do, the only thing I'll do for him or to him further would be to remove the clay from all over the skull, wherever he's sealed up, and clean him out real well. I will tape the lower mandibles back to the skull and put him back in my display case, and he'll have a happy life there. And he won't have to put up with any more of my crud. All right? He's done his duty. He served his purpose, and he's helped us create molds and learn what to do and what not to do. And for that, to you, big fella, I am thankful. So, with that, the next thing I'll do is create a casting from the new mold.